I met the president long before he was president, and that's actually when we fished together.
My dad is one of the top bass pros in the world.
This is 2008 Bassmaster Classic champion Alton Jones.
He had arguably a Hall of Fame career, world champion. Growing up around the sport, he taught me a lot. He definitely showed me the ropes, gave me a leg up on the competition. But you know, it's clear when you hit the water that the fish don't care who you are. I'm Alton Jones Jr. So we're here. This is the tackle room at the Jones compound, as we call it. This is what we consider our war room. This is where we prepare for tournaments. My earliest super fond memory of bass fishing would be I was in kindergarten, Miss Taylor's class here in Waco, Texas, and my dad pulled me out of school. We went on a trip. We rented a cabin at Fayette County Lake, just south of Waco. I've got a Zebco. I fire out a baby 1-, and before I can even click the reel on that Zebco, a 5-pounder blows up and eats it on the surface. It's the first PB I guess I ever had, the first big fish I ever caught. To be honest, I don't remember my dad's reaction at all. I'm sure he had one hand on the rod making sure I didn't let go of it. So I'm sitting there thinking, man, I really hope this fish doesn't get off. I'm sure he's thinking that twice as much. Man, I hope this fish doesn't get off. That's just a memory that is engraved into my mind as a fisherman when the spark really first ignited my love for bass fishing.
Little Alton, actually, once he got old enough, once he was about 8 or 9 years old, he literally practiced every practice day for every tournament with me throughout the entire season. I'll never forget one year, he was probably 11 or 12 at the time. We had a tournament at the Harris Chain in Florida. He had a big old Osprey swim bait on with no hooks on it. All you could see was a little boot tail just kind of hanging out of that big fish's mouth, and it's swimming around with that, and he was a good sport about it.
When I was probably 15, 14 years old, I got my first taste of the tournament experience, you know, fishing a team tournament. It was a light switch went off. I was like, wait, all this competitive drive that I've always had, and then my passion for bass fishing, I've never put the two together. Ever since that day, there's nothing else on this earth that I would rather do than chase bass competitively. I didn't know if that was the right choice. It's what I wanted to do. It didn't mean it was what I should be doing. I graduated Baylor in 2014. Luckily, I'd had some success in some team tournaments and stuff. Get a check, and I'm like, I can do this. Like, yeah, this is just like fishing back home. And I go to my next tournament, I finish like 20th, and I'm like, I'm the guy. Then, you know, reality hit. The next 7 events of the year, I never even came close to cashing a check. I mean, it was just bomb after bomb after mistake after mistake after mistake. And, you know, I found myself just like nowhere close to my goals. You're gonna mess this up. I was dating my wife now pretty seriously. Like, we're gonna get married. I can't go get married and not be making any money, be spending money, and I'm gonna have to find another way to make a living. Growing up around the sport, one of the things I'd seen is a lot of failure. I knew there was a legitimate reality. The dream might not come true. And my dad is, at this time, 2015, 2016, he's winning tournaments, finishing consistently high in Angler of the Year. It seemed like every day when I'd come off the water that I had a bad day, he's like, oh, well, I had a great day. It's hard to not be jealous. Not that I wasn't happy for him, but I'm just like, man, what am I doing wrong? I knew that 2016 was my last chance. It was really stressful, you know, like, I can't even hardly say the headspace I was in. I don't know if I'm trying to think like my dad. I can't be him. You know, this guy taught me everything. I know what he's thinking. I can predict his movements almost, but I've just had to put myself in my own shoes and not in his shoes. And whenever I got over that hump of stop trying to be like your dad, all of a sudden I'm working harder, being more efficient, and began to trust my own instincts. Just kind of let go of control too. Allowed me to find that next gear of working harder to pursue your dreams. That day on the water, that one decision turned my whole career, my whole season, my whole tournament around. Like right there, that one decision I can look back to here, it's 10 years later. And 8 years later, and that kind of started the success that I had in my career. It wasn't all uphill from there, but it was a lot of it. The rest of that 2016 season, I never missed another check. The rest of the year, I won a Bassmaster Open on the Red River and qualified for the Bassmaster Classic and the Bassmaster Elite Series. So I went from, am I ever gonna make it, to, uh-oh, I'm here, now what? Lake Fork 2022, it's the second event of the year. My dad and I both make the championship round. While we fished a lot against each other. I had made some championship rounds. He had made some championship rounds.
Between he and I together, we always want to finish on top. In other words, I want to be ahead of him. He wants to be ahead of me.
We had never fished against each other on the final day. And it was kind of a moment we had always dreamed of. We'd always joked around, hey, someday we're going to be battling it down to the last minute for first and second. You know, that's going to make for some great TV, great stories, great memories.
I wanted that trophy. I wanted him to finish second. I really did. You know, I was hoping he'd finish as high as he could, but I wanted that trophy really bad.
I grew up fishing with my dad, seeing a lot of different bodies of water. He's old school, loves to flip, pitch, be methodical. I've taken a lot of what I've known from him of the fish finding side of things from all those days practicing with him. Just kind of put my own spin on it. I'm definitely a little faster. Maybe it's my age. Maybe it's just my fishing style. I'm a little quicker and more efficient than he is. Kind of mixing that old school with the new school.
He picked up live scope and just the whole forward-facing sonar thing. I was doing it, I had it on my boat, but he became a master long before I did, and he's still teaching me so much about that. He's becoming a master at that way more than I ever was.
Going out that final day, when it was all said and done, I'd won the event. It was a close event. I mean, I was crying. I get back to the ramp. Of course, he's the first one I see, you know, and he's crying.
At one point, I just got so emotional on the front deck of the boat, realizing, hey, he's about to do this. It's a huge milestone for his career, but it was a huge milestone for me as a dad too.
We just can't believe it actually happened. Lake Murray Megabucks in the late 90s or early 2000s, he won that event. And I can remember going up on stage with him. He's got me under one arm and an 8-pound bass in his right arm on stage with Ray Scott. And that's kind of like just one of those moments. It's the hero figure. Like, I'm looking at my dad, I'm there on stage with him. The crowd's cheering, he's holding this big trophy, and I'm just like, my dad's the man. You know, watching him hold so many trophies up. For me to get my first one, for him to be there on the final day to help me celebrate it was incredible. And you know, and I'd been so close so many times, and it was like a giant breath of fresh air to know just that monkey was off my back. I think I'd had 3 or 4 seconds at that point in the few years prior, and so to finally get a first place, it was just a relief. My wife was there, my father-in-law was there, they had driven in. That was a day that I'll never forget.
I can still picture it in my mind, just what that moment was like. And also I realized too that this isn't the only time I'm going to get to see this in my life. This is going to be one of many for Alton Jones Jr.
You know, the number one thing that I think kind of keeps me in front is just trying to find an edge in different baits, styles, and tactics, trying to stay on the front end of what's coming over from overseas. You know, if you can stay on the forefront of that stuff, it can help you stay on top. I was pretty stoked about the iReel, to be honest. It was my first time to hold one and to learn more about it. The sole function of the reel and all the other tech inside of it was really awesome. With all the different reels that KastKing has, I think as an angler, it'll make me better on the technical side. It's 2025, just signed on with KastKing, and I honestly, I couldn't be more excited. I've obviously, being in the fishing industry, heard of KastKing for many years. Just a few months ago, got my first taste of their products and got to fish with them for the first time, and I was absolutely blown away. The quality of the product, and then honestly a little mad at the price point, because I'm sitting here throwing a reel that I'm like, this is one of the smoothest reels I've ever thrown. No way this thing's $100. KastKing has taken a big step and obtained their own factory. Allows them to innovate and create, make their own reels. There's something to be said about that. Truly making a top to bottom product is really special and allows them to be more innovative. I think this is going to be an awesome partnership for family for a really long time.
Fishing is the catalyst that brings us together.
That's the biggest bond that my dad and I have, is bass fishing, and that's how we communicate. That's how we think. That's how we talk. That is our relationship. Growing up, you know, with my father, not only do we look semi-alike, we speak alike. Our names are the same, but we both love to bass fish. He's one of the greatest bass fishermen to ever play the game, and
you know, I'm in my 60s now. Probably one of the reasons that I'm still fishing is because we get to compete against each other. You know, I kind of always want to impress him, and even though he finishes on top now more often than I do, it still makes me want to strive for that next level. I definitely was able to teach him some things growing up, but now he teaches me a lot of stuff. That would be my word for the rest of the field, is watch out for Junior. He's probably got quite a few more wins in his future. I'm excited to watch it and be along for the ride.
I think as an angler, what set me apart is it's not me against my dad or his accomplishments. You really got to dumb it down. It's me against the bass every single day. He's instilled in me a passion for bass fishing. There's a competitive drive in me, and if I keep it as simple as that, if I do my job to beat that bass, I'll be where I want to be at the end of the day.